Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Nightcap with RhinoMan. I'm sorry I'm a minute late. Didn't want to be a minute late, but the conversation just got really good and I wanted to keep it going. However, this is Nightcap with RhinoMan. I'm your host, RhinoMan, and tonight's guest has a slot channel, but he's also a professional poker player. One of my close friends, Edward, he knows who he is. This is his dream. He wants to be a professional poker player. Hope he's out there watching. He could check this out. This is going to be a fun interview. I can't wait to learn more about this guy. I'm sure you guys can't either. But first, as I do, three questions for you. How do you think you would do if you gambled for a living? Think about it. What would you do different than you're doing now? Most of you guys out there are gamblers. So, what would you do now if you had to gamble for a living? You didn't have to fall back on a regular job or a regular income stream. That's question number one. If you had to quit, question number two, if you had to quit your job today, um, would that be like a weight lifted off your shoulders, or would that add complete stress to you? Just a question. What would it do for you? We'll find out what it did for this guest in a minute. But first, question number three. How do you handle stress? How do you handle stress in life? You know, life is full of ups and downs. How do you handle those downtimes? How do you handle that pressure when you get hit in the face with something that you weren't expecting? That's the key to success, is how you treat those down times or those tough times that you get hit in the face with something unexpected, how you react to those times. Do you just fold under the stress? Do you sit and cry? Do you, whatever it is you do, but how you handle those downs makes those ups so much better. So, anyway, today's channel supporter, if you notice, there's a little bit of a different format here. Today, the top banner there says the Slot Ripper. That's our guest, the Slot Ripper. Please like his channel, subscribe to it. Today's channel supporter is on the banner going down below. I did this because I started getting a lot of people confused when I put the name of a channel up there as the channel supporter of the episode. So I did some switching around. We have the channel supporter on the bottom, Lucky Beach Slots. Hey, I hope she's in here today. If not, she'll catch it on the replay. Lucky Beach Slots is the channel supporter of the day. Really appreciate her. If you haven't checked out her channel, please go over and check it out. Let's see who we got in the chat today before we introduce our guest. I saw Matt's gambling stuff. Matt, I'm so sorry I haven't responded to the email yet, but I will be doing that soon. Kaz, yes, Scratcher and Slot Channel supporter, really appreciate you. Thank you for coming in. Lucky Obsession and Scratcher, suck it up, girl. Thank you for coming in last night. Really enjoyed that interview. Cheryl, B724. I would like to know what the B724 stands for, but thank you for coming in. Yoshi Slots is in the house. El Güero, bro, I'm going to make it down to your restaurant this weekend for sure. If not tomorrow, then Saturday. Definitely. SoCal Slots, thank you for coming in. Lucky Obsession, Stacia Slot Channel. Let's see who else is in here. Well, that's who we got in here for right now. Let's introduce our guest. Get him on the stream. Simi Scratch and Ernie, thank you for coming in. Yo, bro, what's going on, man? Can you hear me?
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Rhino Man. So I was looking at the computer and I wasn't on it yet. How's everybody doing tonight?
Everybody's doing great. Mama Yoshi's in here. Simi Scratch and Ernie. El Güero, Man versus Slots. Thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it. So, hey, bro, you're living the dream right now. I want to find out about it. Introduce yourself first to everybody.
Hey, guys, I'm the Slot Ripper. Actually, my real name is Randall or Randy, but y'all know me as the Slot Ripper. I'm just a regular guy, man. I play poker for a living. I used to work corporate jobs. I worked in the casino for a while, and I just got fed up with it, and I realized my skills on the poker table were good enough for me to leave those positions behind and just play poker for a living. And then somehow I found my way into the slot community and playing slots on YouTube as well. So I'm just a gambler. I mean, like everybody else.
Hey, cheers to that, bro. So I got a question for you right off the bat. Do you drink while you're gambling?
Good question. So, and that's funny. That's funny because when I play poker, zero drinking, zero drinking. I need to make sure that this is working nonstop.
Real quick, Matt's gambling and slots. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate that, bro.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. When I'm playing poker, zero drinking, zero whatsoever. I mean, maybe once in a while, a beer or some other kind of drink. Like if everybody at the table's doing it, a lot of times a guy will be like, "Hey, man, it's on me." Even though if you're in Vegas, it's free, but my local casinos, it's not. To celebrate something, we might have one, I might have two, but usually it's pretty much nothing. Now, when I and see that's what's funny because when I film a lot of the slot play too, I might be taking a break from playing poker and going back to playing poker. So unfortunately, I'm not drinking and getting all that liquid courage in me when I do some of the videos. But if I'm just going out just to film slot videos, oh yeah, I have drinks. I have fun with it.
Gamblers Unknown says skills or discipline. So I guess that plays into that there. So let's just jump right in. When did you start gambling?
16 years old.
16 years old. When did you start gambling?
What's that?
Where did you start gambling?
It was at a horse track. So the town that I grew up in, we had a harness race or harness track. Are you familiar with horse racing?
Yeah.
It's where the guys are racing on for anybody that isn't, it's the guys that are racing not on the back of the horse, but on a little buggy behind the horse. And the town exactly. And the town that I grew up in, we had a horse or a racetrack there, and it was very well known in my state. And at the time, I'm kind of dating myself here. At the time, you only really needed to be, I think it was 16, at least that's what I thought, to gamble on the horses. And so we would go every once in a while, we'd go to the racetrack and just, $2 here, $2 there. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. And I remember one time I went, I placed a bet. I was trying to place a bet on a long shot. And I was just trying to place a bet on him to show. Okay. And, they had the computers there at that time. And the computers were kind of new. Most people still went to the window. I was a young kid. I didn't want to go to the window. And somehow I made a mistake and bet more than I meant to bet, and also bet for that one particular horse to win place show. Okay. And sure enough, the horse won, and I wound up winning like $700. And so from that point, it was like the person casting the fishing reel, and they just reeled me in, and they hooked me and reeled me in, and I was done. I mean, I was hooked at that point. But so
that was your first taste of crack right there, pretty much.
It was. If we could only go back to that first taste, right?
Right.
But funny story though. My parents. I have a lot of relatives that live in. Well, I did have a lot of relatives that lived in Las Vegas, and so when we were younger, we would go to Las Vegas to visit them. And one trip, my parents were out there, and I don't know why I wasn't there at the time. I can't remember. I was probably because I played sports growing up and all that, so there might have been some reason that we had to stay home. Like me, my brother, and my sister might have been there. I don't know. But anyways, my parents wind up buying a condo in Las Vegas.
Okay.
When I was at the time, I think I was maybe a senior in high school. And so now we started doing family trips to Las Vegas like pretty regularly. And we all know Las Vegas was kind of run differently back then than it is now.
Yeah.
And I looked older than I did. I mean, I'm 48 now, and most people think that I'm in my 30s. I hope that's true. But back when I was 18 and 16 and 17, I looked like I was 22. And so I would go to the casinos, and I remember specifically being at MGM, playing with the dollar coins, just feeding them one by one into the slot machines when I was like 17 years old. And nobody once ever questioned, was I old enough to be in there gambling? Okay. So that's really where like the real gambling started, because the horse track really wasn't real gambling. It was, I would say, Las Vegas.
Well, it's lucky you didn't win a jackpot at that time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think, but back then, I don't know if you remember back then, the jackpot like was a big deal. Now, like
Yeah,
winning $1,200 isn't a big deal anymore, right?
yeah,
Like you hit
exactly.
$1,200 on a small line hit, whereas back then, like you had to line up red, white, and blue sevens to hit 1,200 or above on a
Yeah,
a $3 bet or whatever it was, 50 cents, 75. So
yeah,
yeah.
true. And plus, you got the buckets of silver dollars that
Oh
you have
yeah.
to cash out.
Yeah,
That
I
you have to
remember the
cash out.
first trip. Yeah, I remember the first trip that I took to Vegas when they got rid of all the coins, and I was like, "What happened on the front of the coins? Having your
Right.
fingers turning all black, and and always having those handy wipes everywhere and all that." But
Not
yeah,
to mention the noise. I mean, it took a different turn without the coins dropping all the time. And recently we took a trip to Vegas and we were at Circus, and they still have the coins. And that sound is just so iconic of the coins hitting the tray when they come out. It was like taking it just automatically took me back to when all the coins were there. So that was pretty fun. So
yeah.
you've been gambling since you're 16. Tell us how you became a professional gambler. What was it that caused you to just say, "Hey, I'm just going to gamble for a living"?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I started playing poker when I was in college, and always did really well at it. For some reason, I was the one I was always winning. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was the one always winning. And then I graduated college and I started working in technology. I worked in sales for tech companies, and but I would go and play. Well, I would go to the casino at night, and then I happened to we play blackjack, slots, whatever. And then I happened to just kind of fumble my way into the top floor of the because out here in the Chicagoland area back then all the casinos were boats and they had multiple levels. And one day I just happened to walk up to the top level and I see they're playing poker. I'm like, well, poker, shit. I used to play poker in college and crush everybody. So I sat down at a game that was way past my experience level. Like
Okay.
I had no business sitting down in this game and I lost a lot of money. And being the competitive guy that I am, I kept going back and back and back and back and back. And then I started learning and learning and learning until I wound up getting good at the game. So then now I'm working in sales for tech companies. I'm very successful. And, but I was playing poker at night. And so it just came to a point that I was making more money playing poker than I was working. Now, I'll tell you a funny story about it with one of my jobs. I got so deep into playing poker every single night of the week that I don't want to say it was affecting my work, but it was taking away my sleep. Let's say that because I was still crushing it in sales. I was one of the top sales reps I was top sales rep in my office, one of the top sales reps in the company nationwide. And
Real okay. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Real quick, Slots Savvy PK, what did you major in college?
me, I
Yes.
majored in business.
Okay.
I had a double major in marketing and organizational communications.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was in sales and I was living in downtown Chicago at the time, and my office was out in the suburbs. And if any of y'all are familiar with Chicago, the traffic in Chicago is horrendous. It's just horrible. And there's no such thing as like a reverse commute. It doesn't matter if you're going out of the city or in the city. It's horrible any way you do it or any way you go. And I happened to get a new boss who was fresh out of grad school. He thought that managing a sales team was opening up a book by somebody who wrote the book only to make money on that didn't really probably even know what they were talking about either. And he thought that to be a good salesperson, you needed to be in the office at 8 a.m. every day and at 5 p.m. every day for meetings, team meetings. Salespeople are not team players. I mean, let's be honest.
That
And
that was the old school train of thought. When I was in sales, they did something similar because you have a team meeting to rally everybody up to go out and do those door-to-door sales, and then at the end of the meeting, you want to see who fell off, who just said, "Fuck it, I can't do this. I
right,
gotta quit," because door-to-door sales is hard. But yeah, similar mindset. You got to have them there in the morning and in the evening.
Right, yeah. And this guy was just he was crazy. He had no idea what he was doing. And I mean, it was so bad. Like, first of all, I'm in tech sales, and he's telling me I got to wear a suit and tie to work every day. I mean, you walk in to see any type of CTO of a company wearing a suit and tie, he says, "Hey man, turn around and let the door kick you in the ass on your way out the door. Because what are you doing dressed like that?" I'm meeting with startup companies and I'm dressed in a suit and tie like I'm going to a funeral. It's like, come on, man. But anyway, so I played the role with the guy for a while. Like I would show up at the office at 8 a.m. I'd show up at 5 p.m. But what was happening is I was out all night long playing poker till like 5 in the morning. And then the only reason I was leaving poker is because I had to go to damn work. And so now I'm racing back home to take a shower, throw on my suit, then drive over an hour out to the suburbs just to show up to some stupid Monday morning meeting where I basically sitting there thinking, oh my God, what is this idiot talking about for a half an hour? And then the funny thing is that I would go in my car. I couldn't go home because the commute was just too far. I would go in my car, and there was this nice park, like about, it might have been about 4 or 5 miles away from my office. And it had everything. It had a bathroom. It was a beautiful park, right? And I would go and I'd back my car up into in a parking lot in this park, and I would turn the car off. I'd climb in the back seat, and I would sleep the entire day. Well, I'm supposed to be at work, where I'm supposed to be working. And, but the funny thing is that like I would bring a cooler. I had a cooler in my trunk with beverages, waters, pop, whatever, food for the day. It was pre-iPhone days, so I actually had one of those small little miniature TVs that I don't know if you guys remember those. And I'd watch like the Cubs. I'm a diehard Cub fan. I'd watch the baseball game every day because the Cubs are always on at 1:20 in the afternoon. So it was like perfect. I would just hang out in the park all day, and then at like 4:30 in the afternoon, I'd pack it all up, put my tie back on, get the suit coat back on and all that, drive to the office, sit for a half an hour, listen to the biggest idiot I've ever met in my life talk for a half an hour, ask what everybody's doing. And then after we would all leave, I'd run in the bathroom, change my clothes, and boom, right to the poker room. And then I'd be out all night long, and it was wash, rinse, and repeat, wash, rinse, and repeat. I did it over and over and over again. Finally, I had enough, man. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I mean, I pleaded with them like, hey, man, I'm your top rep. I was doing like maybe 4 hours of work a week, and I was still blowing my number out the water. And I was like, man, you got to cut me some slack. I'm the top rep on your team, and my numbers are consistent every single month. And he wouldn't cut me any slack, man. So one day I just walked in. I was like, I tried pleading with him again. He wouldn't listen to me. Threw my badge down on the table. I said, dude, I'm done. And it was like 2 days before the end of the month, like right when his big number was due. And it was kind of now if you're out there working, I don't recommend doing this because I burned a bridge. But I was like, you know what, man, I'm done. I pleaded with you to give me the space that I need. You're top rep. You don't want to give me the space. Here's my badge. I'm walking out this door. I'm not coming back. Good luck on making your number going forward. Yeah. And the funny thing is that I actually, because I have a LinkedIn account, I sent him a request to connect on LinkedIn. It might have been about like 3 or 4 years ago, man. And the guy, his flat stone, ghosted me on it. He just he will not. He just will not accept my request.
He wasn't happy. Melvin Lopez, I don't know exactly what time I'll be there, but I will let you know. I'll shoot you. If you're on Facebook, I'll shoot you a messenger. Let you know when I'll be down there. Rhino and not Mrs. Rhino Man says, don't get any ideas. That's my girlfriend telling me not to get any ideas about walking into the office. But
everybody's doing it.
Hey, so at that point, you dropped your notice. You said, I'm out of here. The stress of driving in to those morning meetings and then sleeping all day in the park and going to the meetings afterwards, that must have weighed heavy on you, just doing that, knowing that you loved playing poker. So what was it like when you finally did that and you said, hey, I'm going to play poker?
Well, that isn't the exact moment that I just quit to go play poker, because I did a couple of things after that. But that's the moment that it was on my radar that, hey, I'm going to just play poker for a living. Let's make this happen. So at that point, I actually I moved to Arizona, and I went to Arizona with the mindset of just playing poker and only playing poker.
Okay.
And the first couple months that I was there, that's all I did. And then a job opportunity kind of fell into my lap out there, so I took it, and I did it. The company I worked for out there was a lot more flexible. I was able to either show up at the office at 2 o'clock. I could show up at the office any day I wanted. There were days I never showed up. You know, I could be out playing poker all night and nobody ever bothered me, right?
Real quick, you know, and that's the way that things happen in life. You know, you moved out to Arizona to play poker, and that was your thought process. And like you just said, a job opportunity fell in your lap. And that's usually when it happens. It doesn't happen when you're looking for it. It happens when you're not looking for it. That's when opportunities knock on your door.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah. And I mean, there was actually another instance where that happened as well. Kind of fast forwarding a little bit, I wind up leaving a company I was working for in Arizona, just played poker for about 6 months, and then made the decision to move back to Chicago. And I came back to Chicago, but I had in the mindset that I wanted to live in Las Vegas. And I said to myself, well, if I'm going to play poker for a living, how can I give myself some kind of security in Las Vegas? Las Vegas is a different market than the other markets that I've lived in before when it came to like the type of sales that I was in. And, you know, the opportunities just don't exist out there. So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll go work in a casino. And if I can get some experience working in a casino, if I ever do move out to Las Vegas and I fall flat on my face playing poker or any type of gambling, I know you can get a casino job really easily. It might not be at the Venetian, but I can get a job somewhere. And so when I started working in a casino here in the Chicagoland area, where I started out as a dealer, and I learned every game. I learned every game really quick. I wind up getting promoted really quickly throughout the casino business, and I wind up being a supervisor over table games. And again, one day it's, you know, with schedule changes, you know, casino business is a tough business because the hours are crazy because you're working different days of the week. You're missing every holiday. You know, one year I'm working 3 to 11. The next year I'm working 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then you're working 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. I mean, everything changes so frequently that like I just couldn't deal with it anymore. It was taking away my poker. And
before you move on from there, I want to ask you this question because I had High Winds Casino on, and I talked to Melissa over there, and I asked her this question, but she says that there's not, but I believe there is. What are the secrets behind the casino that we don't know about? There is a button somewhere that allows people to win, right?
There is. There actually is. There's a button sitting on the manager's desk that says they can win today, they can't win today. No, I'm kidding. No, there's nothing. I mean, honestly, the casino, like, I have this conversation with everybody. Like, people think that, like, the casinos, for example, a player's card in a slot machine, it does nothing. It's not going to stop you from winning or losing. You know, I mean, it's not going to stop you from winning. It's not going to stop you from losing. It's not going to do anything. Only thing it does is benefit you, and it benefits the casino because they could track, you know, keep track of their customer base. It's all about, you know, contact management at that point, right? Like any organization. I mean, same thing Google does, keeping tabs on their, you know, the people that view their websites. The same thing. But, you know, there are little tricks and stuff that they do to try to fumble people up. I'm not going to lie about that. Like, especially in table games, you know, whether it's like on a craps table, changing dice. I've heard old stories, and I this never happened when I worked in that business, but I heard stories back in the old days, like where somebody was doing really, really well on a blackjack table. And I'm talking about, like, you know, I'm talking about somebody winning a lot of money. We're talking hundreds of thousands plus, not somebody winning $10,000, you know, because the casino, $10,000 is nothing to the casino. You know, I heard stories where somebody would purposely walk by a blackjack table and accidentally knock the shoe off the table. You know, like brush into it and knock it off the table. I've heard that. Now, has that ever happened when I worked there? I never saw that happen, but I mean, I heard that that's what happened back in some of the older days before I worked in the casino. But yeah, I mean, there's things they'll do, man. Like, you know, there's whether it really, it's all mental, man. And same thing goes with poker. Like, things become mental. Like if something's there's something on your mind, it's going to affect the outcome. And so, like, let's say you're a high roller on a blackjack table, and then there's a pit boss that you don't like, or that particular pit boss is always standing there when you're losing. You better believe the casino is going to schedule that pit boss to be there watching you every single time, because they know that you're losing, and then they're hoping that it gets in your mind. That's all it is. It's all a big mind game, because the casino is all about nickels and dimes, man.
So that's always the thing when I'm playing blackjack and I'm on a good run and I'm tearing the table up. They always switch dealers, and that cooler dealer comes over and bam, you can't hit nothing after that. So that's the mental aspect of it. It really is nothing to do with the dealer. It just if
the dealer's got to go on break. Yeah, the dealer's got to go on break, or whatever it is, But it's a mental thing, man, and that all correlates to poker too. Like poker's all mental. Like the younger generation in the poker world nowadays, they all base poker on this thing called GTO, which stands for game theory optimal, because they all came up in the old video game environment, right? So everything's in their minds, everything is a game, that there's a solver for this particular game, like playing Mario Brothers, and there's a solver to beat Mario Brothers, or back in my day playing Mike Tyson Punch Out, and there's a solver to beat Mike Tyson, right?
Right.
And so the younger generation in the poker world think that everything's based upon game theory optimal, whereas the older guys like me,
go ahead.
Where the older guys like me, we all we look at it from more of it's a mental game. I'm trying to get in your head, man. I'm trying to get you to make the wrong decision is really what I'm trying to do. It's not about the cards. It's not about this or that. It's just all about the mental aspect.
So speaking of that, my buddy plays Texas Hold'em religiously, and he's played 7 card. He's played all of that. He plays at Commerce, Hawaiian Gardens, all of these places. But when we go to Vegas, I've seen him just get on a table and he will just talk. He will tell people what they have in their hands to get them to fold. And he knows, because he's played it so much. He could read people's tails and stuff like that. So
yeah.
And do you get people that come to your table, they sit down and they just talk crap?
Man, God. Well, whether they're talking crap, the games that I play in, it's the same group of like 40, 50 people that are playing in the games that I play in on a regular basis. So, it's not like somebody can really talk crap to me and get under my skin. But maybe if you're a newcomer, it could get under your skin, right? But we do have guys in the game that are nonstop talking. It's actually funny because this one guy, I made a comment last time I played with him. I was like, and I'm not going to say his name just in case he winds up watching the stream. I don't want to put him down or anything. And he's well known in my poker scene, but we'll call him Jim. And I was like, man, and I was joking around because I know everybody in the in the poker room, the dealers, floor people, all that. And one of the dealers is I joke around with a lot, and I made some comment. I was like, dude, I said, because Jim was talking. And I said, watch Jim. I said, Jim is talking right now. And I said, he's been nonstop talking for 4 hours, nonstop. I said, but the funny thing is that he's still talking about the same topic. But 1 second, you'll see him look at seat 3. And then seat 3 will engage with him for about 30 seconds, get bored of the conversation, and then just completely ignore him. And then he's looking at seat 5. And then he's looking at you, the dealer. And I said, just watch him. He goes around the table to see who's going to engage with him while he's not stop talking. And you know what? I think the guy does like to kind of get into people's heads, because he does get into people's heads doing that. I find it funny. I honestly, I'll rile him up a little bit sometimes just to get him to keep talking, because I find it funny. He doesn't really. I'll put my headphones on if I have to block him out. But it's all mind games, and there's many things that people do in that arena to get under people's skin. Whether it's well, here's one back in the old days, like when you could. And again, I'm dating myself here. Like, people used to smoke while they were playing poker. Not anymore today. Like, you can't smoke in a poker room now. But when I first started playing poker, like back in the 90s, late 90s, people would, there was like one guy in the casino who he's kind of an old grumpy guy now. I mean, he wasn't old then. I mean, I guess he looked old to me then, but now I'm like his age. So I'm like, I guess, it's kind of funny, but, he would complain about everything. So people would constantly, whether they were smokers or not smokers, light up cigarettes and sit next to him at the poker table, and then have their ashtray sitting on the table and just put the cigarette in the ashtray. So the smoke, he would just be smoked out of the table, and then he would start playing bad. He would start playing bad because of it. So yeah, it's just all games, man. It's all fun. It's all mental games, all fun and games.
So let's jump. We got way off topic, but you were at the casino, and then when you left the casino, how did that come about? You left the casino to just strictly play poker.
Yeah. I made I got the experience that I wanted.
Actually, not Mrs. RhinoMan says smoking with oxygen tanks, playing in the back in the day. So
yeah,
back in the
day. She's absolutely right on that. There were people doing that for sure. But yeah, I got the experience that I wanted working in the casino. And well, it's actually funny. So when we talk about jobs falling in people's laps, I actually the first casino that I went to work for is the one that promoted me from from a dealer all the way up to supervising table games. I got laid off. Because they were doing a little downsizing, and I was low on seniority. And so I was like, well, okay, well, this is perfect now. I'm collecting unemployment, and I'm going to use this to initiate the let's just play poker plan while I got unemployment coming in. And so I was sitting at a poker table. It's a funny story. I was sitting at a poker table. It was probably about, I want to say it was maybe 8 a.m. I get I can't remember if it was a text or a phone call from my old shift manager at the casino that I worked at. And he says, hey, man, this is, and I'm not going to use real names. We'll just call him Bob. Hey, this is Bob. I just interviewed with this company, or this casino. He says, but I'm not taking the job, because he was my boss and he was looking at a job that was lower than his normal. And he says, but I told them they should call you and talk to you about the job. And I'm sitting here thinking, God dang it. I got laid off 4 weeks ago. I'm collecting unemployment. I'm living the dream. I'm up like $9,000 since I've been laid off playing poker. And I said, why? I'm thinking, why do I want to go work? And sure enough, about an hour after the conversation I had with him, I got a phone call from the shift manager at the other casinos saying, hey, Bob told us to give you a call. We want you to come in tomorrow for an interview. We have a position open here. It's the first time we've opened this position in a long time. And I'm like, oh my God, how, here we go again. It just falls right into my lap. So I wind up doing it. And I stayed at that casino for about, that might have been 3-4 years maybe. And then, like I said, I just came to the point, like with all the different scheduling and all the stuff, I felt like I was preventing myself from doing what I really wanted to do, if that makes sense.
Melba wants to know what you're drinking tonight.
Well, Melba, to be honest with you, the slot ripper is drinking water because
he's got to go play poker later.
That's right. So if it weren't for that, I'd be drinking either a Captain and Coke or like some kind of vodka mixed with something, like some kind of vodka cranberry or vodka pineapple cranberry, something like that.
Hey, that sounds good. I might have to have one of those in a little while.
Yeah.
So the job fell in your lap. Your lap, and then what happened?
And like I said, so I did it for about three. It might have been 4 years, and then I was I was playing poker. I'd get off of work, and what was actually nice about it, because the casinos are. What's funny is that we got a lot of casinos in the Chicagoland area, but they're all by each other. I don't understand this. I mean, why have them all so close together? So, anyways, I would get off of work, and then when I get off of work, I would go to the casino and play poker. And actually, now thinking about it, I remember exactly what the tipping point was. I had a schedule of 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., which was like a dream schedule. Okay. And so I would get off at 7 p.m. and I would go change real quick. And then I would go to the poker room. I'd be at the poker room by 8 p.m. and I could play poker till 3 or 4 in the morning, come home, sleep, and go back, to the casino and work. And it wasn't a problem. Then my schedule changed to where I was working till midnight. And that's crushed it. So now I'm showing up at the poker room at 1 o'clock in the morning you know, and I just couldn't do it anymore. After like 6 months of being on that schedule, I had a really good run leading up to my departure, and I just went in, put my 2-week notice in, said, "Hey man, I'm leaving." And when I told them the reason why I was leaving, I told them I'm going to go play poker for a living. They all thought I was, first of all, they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's what I'm going to go do. I mean, I'm not going to work at a competitor. I'm going to play poker. And so then from that point, it was just no turning back. I just went and made
So
the leap.
when you said those words to your current employer saying, "Hey, I'm just going to go play poker for a living," how did that feel?
You know what? It felt truthfully, it felt good, but I'm going to tell you, it also felt a little scary. And because at that point it becomes real, right? And I
Yeah.
made a couple of stabs at not working and just playing poker, and I always fell back into working. And but that this time my mind was made up, because when I moved back to Chicago, I never went back working in the technology, because I didn't want to get, what I tell people, I didn't want to get grounded into being locked here in Chicago, because I have aspirations of moving to Las Vegas or back to Arizona, right? And but I came here because I wanted to be close to my family. My parents are older. I wanted to be around them while I still have them.
Okay.
And so it felt good. But then the crazy thing is that the the guy who, I don't know if you ever heard of the Heartland Poker Tour.
I
It
have
used to be
not.
on TV. Well, the Heartland Poker Tour was I'm sure you heard of the World Poker Tour, any of the ones you see
Yeah,
on TV.
definitely.
Well, the Heartland Poker Tour was also another tour that was on TV, and the company the casino that I worked for, their corporate office owned the Heartland Poker Tour. And so the tournament director of the Heartland Poker Tour worked, out of the office where I worked out of. And he just happened to be there that day, when I told him when I told my boss I was quitting. And then,
Hey, Chris
him and
and
I,
Lou, thank you for coming in. Sorry.
"Hey, Chris and Lou, how are you?" And I told the tournament director what I was doing, and he was like, "Dude, you sure about that? You know, you gotta have a big bankroll to do that." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm pretty sure about it." I said, "I've known you for 20 something years in the poker scene. I'm a player. I got the bankroll to do it. Yeah, I'm sure." So after, I felt good at first, and then after talking with him like 5 minutes later, I'm like, "Oh man, what the hell did I just do?" You know.
Right.
But yeah, so it's just been no turning back after that. I mean, it's been a lit. Took a little bit off my shoulders, like not having to do that daily grind of going to work and pretty much doing what you want. But on the other side of it comes a whole slew of other type of worries,
Okay.
because I don't have that paycheck coming every other Friday like you got, or he's got, or she's got, or they got. You know what I mean?
Okay. So we'll get into that. So you made that decision 6 years ago. So you've been playing professional poker for the past 6 years.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm kind of funny. I don't like to say professional poker. I like to say poker for a living, because
Okay.
in my mind, when I say professional poker, or if somebody thinks of professional poker, the first thing that comes out of somebody's mind or mouth when I say professional poker, say, "Well, what are you talking about? I don't see you on TV. You're not Phil Hellmuth. You're not Phil Ivey or Daniel Negreanu or any of these other guys." And I'm like, "You have no clue what you're talking about. Unless you're a gambler, you have no clue what you're talking about." And to be honest, even a lot of gamblers don't even realize it either.
Well,
And
here's the deal. A lot of professional poker players don't even want people to know that's what they do for a living. They keep that on
exactly,
the down low for sure.
exactly,
So
exactly.
tell it, tell us what the different before you do that. Hey, babe, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to be a professional slot player.
Yeah, come on tour with me, Rhino man.
Hey,
We'll load up the RV and travel across country.
before you do that, describe the different players, poker players that are out there.
Well, in my opinion, there's four different types of poker players. You mean like the kind of games they play, stuff like that?
No,
There's
not the type of game. What? Because I know a lot of
Yeah,
professional poker players don't even want you to know that they're professional players.
yeah, exactly. So there's, first and foremost, I would say, that are in the forefront or in the spotlight are tournament poker players. Or wait, let me backtrack. Celebrity poker players. These are the guys that you see constantly on TV. The Phil Hellmuth, the Daniel Negreanu, the Phil Ivies, all these big names that everybody knows, even if you're not in the poker world. You know their names because these guys are plastered all over TVs. They're good ambassadors of the game. They're getting paid a lot of money to show up to places, and they make a lot of money. But a lot of their money's also made on endorsements. Most of their money's made on endorsements, to be honest. So there's those players. Then there's tournament players. There's tournament grinders, the guys that just travel around the country and play tournaments. And those guys are those are also pretty well-known people too, because they're the guy that you saw that, that's the Greg Raymer that just won the World Series of Poker, or you guys that win big events that are on TV and stuff like that. So people know those names. Those are household names too. Then there's the cash game grinders, which make up like 90+%. Hold on, I got to plug my headphone in here. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Then there are the cash game grinders that make up, I would say, 90% of the poker players out there. These are the guys that are in your local casinos or Vegas or whatever that are strictly playing money back and forth, or playing poker back and forth strictly for money. That's it. There's no $1 million prize pool. They're coming in, they're buying in for 500, 1,000, 10,000, whatever their game is that they're playing, and they're playing against other people. And then there's the fourth type of player is kind of the hybrid player, the guy that plays tournaments and the guy that plays cash game. I'm primarily a cash game player. I play strictly cash games. I've played some tournaments.
Have you won tournaments?
I have. I actually, I don't know if you saw a picture I sent you for your thumbnail, the one where I'm sitting in front of a stack of poker chips with 4 cards in my hand. I just won that tournament. That was a picture from winning the tournament.
Nice.
So yeah, that was a picture that the Venetian took when I won it. But yeah, actually before COVID hit, it was January of 2020. Yeah, January 2020. I told myself, I said, I'm going to start playing more tournaments because I got all these buddies that have bracelets from World Series of Poker, wins, or rings or whatever, Heartland Poker Tour victories, all these trophies and stuff. And I don't really have any of that because I was always cash game. I said, I'm going to start focusing a little bit more on playing some tournaments. So I played in January and February of 2020, I played 4 tournaments. I final tabled 3 out of 4. And wow. The fourth one I was doing well in, but I had a family emergency that came up that I basically, for the most part, had to forfeit my chips because I had to leave. And, but so, yeah, I final tabled 3 out of 4 of them. Then all of a sudden, so I'm thinking I got some momentum going. I didn't win a lot of money because they weren't huge tournaments, but I did very well in them. And in my mind, it was good momentum going, which would soon be leading up to the World Series of Poker, soon be leading up to all the different tournaments that I want to play in for the year. And with the new mentality that I had as far as focusing on tournaments, and then boom, we get hit with COVID, and then that just changed everything. So it's like then at that point, all my momentum just crashed. I had no more poker tournaments I could play. The casinos all started closing, everything started closing, and it kind of derailed me a little bit. But
are you thinking about getting back into tournaments?
So good that it's funny that you bring that up. I am. It's on my mind to do it. I have dabbled a little bit in the last couple of trips I've taken to Vegas. Right after the casinos opened back up, the very first tournament that I played. So this actually is pretty good success if you think about it. Right before the casinos closed, I played 4 tournaments. I final tabled 3 of them. I didn't win it. I didn't win one. I got 3rd in one and like an 8th and a 9th. And then the very first tournament I played after the tournaments, or after some tournaments came back online, I won it. Okay. I got first place. So yeah, I tournaments are, man, they're it's a time consuming thing, man. Like it's an all day grind. It's multiple day grind. It's a totally different mindset than playing cash games. But yeah, I'm going to jump back into it. And to be honest with you, right away, I'm jumping back into it, not for the money. I want that damn bracelet, man. I want that bracelet. I want that ring that says that I won the damn thing. That's what I want, is the ring or the bracelet. That's what I want.
Thank you, Over Rosas, for coming in. It's like chasing those majors. You know what I mean? On a slot
Right,
machine, same thing.
right. You hit the major jackpot and you're not winning, but it's like victory because you still hit the major jackpot. So
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
that's the
So
exact feeling.
your poker, you play Texas Hold'em, Omaha. What's your game of choice, and what's the game that you do the best at?
Okay, so my primary game that I play right now is Pot Limit Omaha, or PLO. You'll see people say, "Oh, PLO stands for Pot Limit Omaha." That's my primary game that I play right now. The game that I'm best at, I'm pretty good at PLO. The game that I'm best at, seven card stud, or any variant of seven card stud, whether it's like seven card stud high only, seven card stud eight or better, Raz, um, any type of seven card stud game, I'm really good at, and that's just
So,
because, excuse me, that's because that's where I learned from.
okay, real quick, Slot Savvy wants to see your poker face.
I loaned it to Lady Gaga so she could write a song.
Okay.
No, it's actually funny that you asked that, Slot Savvy, because it, I'm pretty stone cold when I'm playing poker. Like, you have to check all emotions at the door. So I mean, I could sit there and just stare you down, and stare you down, or I could win. Or it's funny because unfortunately, like with some of my slot videos, like I seem like I could be a little numb to some victories or wins in the slot videos. And that's because I just came from playing poker, and I just flopped the nuts, which the nuts would be the best hand you could flop. Or, I just won $3,000 on a turn card, but I can't show any emotion about it
Yeah.
because I still want to keep people in the hand. So yeah, you gotta be stone cold. Gotta be stone cold.
So throw out. I don't know if everybody in here wants to hear it, but I do. Throw out some terminology because you just threw out the nuts, the button, the turn. So throw out some terminology and explain some of that for.
I mean, well, yeah, depending on what kind of game you're playing, most games now are what they call flop games, where a flop game is where you have cards that are dealt in the middle of the table that are community cards.
Okay.
And so a flop game would be Texas Hold'em. That's the one you see on TV. 99% of the time when you see a show poker on TV, it's a flop game. It's Texas Hold'em. The flop would be the first three cards that are dealt in the center, the first three community cards. The turn would be the fourth. So basically, the way poker works is, we'll use Texas Hold'em as the example. My game's a little bit different. Um, Texas Hold'em, everybody's dealt two cards, and then there's a betting round. So everybody bets or checks. I mean, well, you have to. They're blind, so you have to at least call the blind. Call the minimum bet to play. You can raise, you can fold, you can do whatever. So then once all that betting round is done, then we get to what's called the flop. The flop is the first three cards that are put on the board. The dealer will burn one card, and then they'll take three cards and put them on the board. And then
Okay.
that'll open up the next round of betting. And then after that round of betting is open, the dealer will burn another card. Burn his card. Basically, burn is just taking the next card off the deck and putting it off to the side. It's not going to be used. And
Okay.
then they put the fourth card up, which is what's called the turn. So the turn is right after the flop. And then there's another betting round, and then we go to the river. The river is the last card, and that's probably a term that a lot of people you'll hear a lot in the poker world, like, "Oh man, you're a river rat," or man, that god dang river, the river got me, man," or "This guy, what the hell are you in for, man? You went all the way to the river with that." I mean, that's a word that you'll hear all the time. River, river, river. You got me on the river. I lost on the river, because that's
I'm
basically
gonna
the last card that's in play.
I'm gonna chase with the Jack Five offsuit all the way to the river, and end up with the full house Jack Fives or something. I don't know.
You could, and I'll tell you what, Phil Hellmuth, who's one of the legends in poker, he's like the goat of the poker world. He's got 16 World Series of Poker bracelets under his belt. He just last week he was on a live stream at the Poker Go Studios at Aria, and he called the guy with a Queen 4 offsuit and wind up winning the hand.
Nice.
And so he got a lot of shit over it because, man, Queen 4, man, Queen, like all the game theory optimal people came out, "Oh, Queen 4, Queen 4." And, this guy's playing not on game theory optimal. He's playing on a different, he's playing more of an older school type of poker. He's playing more on the relationship side of poker as opposed to the game theory side of poker. Well, anyways, he winds up winning the hand with queen four. So you could call me down with that jack five, Rhino. I want you to do it because 9 out of 10 times your money's going to be in my pocket at the end of the night.
Hey,
So,
I'm not calling you down. Hey, to be honest, all my buddies, they play at all the card clubs up here. I go to the card clubs every once in a while to play some cards with them. But when I sit down at the table, I get nervous. If I have a monster hand or nuts, I can't hold that emotion. You see me look at my cards, and we have poker games here at the house, so they could read me like a book. They know when I got the good hands. Every once in a while, I'll act all nervous just to bluff, but for the most part, I wouldn't consider myself a good poker player. I'm a chaser. I'm a river rat. I figure every hand's a winning hand as long as I bet it. I could win. So
hey, every hand
I'm not
can
going to
win.
sit in at the table with you for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, a lot of people there's a lot of chasers out there, especially the game that I play is a chasing game. That in Hold'em, it's pretty easy. I mean, I shouldn't say easy. It's not easy by any means, but you can pretty much figure out where you're at or what's the best hand or what, like I said, the nuts would be the best possible hand you can make.
Yeah.
There isn't always a royal or a straight flush, but in the game that I play, the game is so draw heavy that because you're dealt 4 cards instead of 2, you got to really learn how to play combinations and chase a little bit on draws and outs and things like that. So
Yeah.
an out would be how many cards you can hit to make your hand. Yeah.
I definitely got the nuts, but they're in not Mrs. Rhino's purse. So anyway, bro,
Well,
what is your biggest win at the poker table?
at the poker table, just under 29,000, like 28,000 and change. I won one night on a pot limit Omaha hand. I just showed up at the casino.
Not a tournament.
No, not a tournament. Not a tournament.
Okay.
It was back when I was younger. I want to say it was like maybe around. Well, you know what? Actually, let me think about it. So, because I went out and bought a BMW the next day after that win, I put that in down payment on a BMW. And so that BMW was a 2001. So it had to have been 2001 when I won it. I just got to the casino. I was still working at the time, in sales, and I was fearless back then, man. I would play big games that I wouldn't even think of playing now. And and part of it was just because I had the security back then of having employment, right?
Yeah.
And I sat down at this game. I bought in for 7,500 or 8,000, 9,000. I know it wasn't a full 10, but it was up there. And the very first hand I got dealt, it was again pot limit Omaha. I flopped, meaning the first 3 cards that came out connected with my hand. I flopped 4 tens.
Oh wow!
So I had two tens in my hand, and I had 2 other cards because again I got 4 cards in my game. And then the first 3 cards were 2 tens and an ace on the flop. So I flopped 4 tens. I was in against 2 other people. One guy was, I want to say he was on a flush draw. I don't remember exactly if it was a flush or a straight draw, but another guy had aces in his hand. And so he flopped aces full of tens. I flopped 4 tens.
Oh, wow.
Needless to say, the fireworks went off and everybody was betting heavily, and I'm sitting here the stone cold nuts. There's only one card in the deck that can possibly beat me, and that was an ace. And the beauty of it was I had one in my hand. I had an ace in my hand too. So I had a 10-10 ace, and I don't remember what the other card was, but I remember there was no way nobody could beat me. And so I wound up getting all my money in on that hand.
Was that a jackpot hand?
Well, so the games that I play, when you say like a bad beat jackpot, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like there's a jackpot hand. Like if you have 4 of a kind at Texas Hold'em, you have 4 of a kind, you get beat by 4 of a kind. That's a jackpot.
Yeah, in the games that I play, we don't have. We do now in the game that I play now, but back then we didn't have jackpots in those games.
Okay.
Like the higher limit games don't have jackpots in them. So usually you only find like the bad beat jackpot on like the 1, 2, 2, 5, no limit. But usually once you start getting into like 5, 10 or above, and the game that I was playing, the blinds were 25, 50. So it was
Wow.
25-50 pot limit Omaha. There are no jackpot. There's no jackpots in those games because
Okay.
part of it is the way a casino makes money on poker is by taking what they call the rake. The rake is a percentage of the pot, and in most cases, it's 10% of the pot up to whatever max the casino designates. It used to be $5 in a lot of places, but now since COVID, now they're taking $6, $7, whatever. Some places even take $8. So they'll take a small portion of the pot up to, whatever X amount of dollars that they designate. Then they also, once the pot gets above a certain dollar amount, and usually it's $20 or $30, they take $1 out of the pot, or some places two, and then they put it into another drop box, and that's the bad beat jackpot. So every dollar that goes in there is what goes to build up that bad beat jackpot.
Okay.
And so the games that I played back, or like that game, or like some of the bigger games, the game I play now is a little different. But back then, instead of the casino making money on each individual pot, they would do what they call a time pot. They would take money on time. So every half an hour when the dealer changed, we would all pay $8 to keep our seat at the table.
Okay.
And so that's the way the casino made money from like my games, is that they would make $72 every half an hour from all the players at the table.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. So I have a couple more questions on poker, and then we're going to get to your YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
The questions I have on poker is, since you're doing it for a living, how do you budget your poker? How do you budget? How do you budget? And then if you lose over a period of time, obviously you gotta look at the ups and downs. But how do you budget for poker as a living?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first and foremost, what's important is like in everyday life, just a normal person, like they'll always tell you should have 90 days of money set aside for emergency circumstances, whether you lose your job or something like that. In the poker world, if you're going to try to make a living gambling, playing poker, doing anything like that, you should probably have at least 6 months of all your bills set aside. So if you know it cost you, let's say it costs you $4,000 a month to live, and that $4,000 covers your mortgage, or your rent, or whatever you have, your car payment, whatever the case may be. You're going to want to have $24,000 minimum sitting in the bank, never being touched in case things go bad, because you have to be able to make sure your bills are covered. If you were to go broke, if you were to lose your bankroll playing poker. So that's the first most important thing. In my opinion, you need a year. If you have a year, the more cushion you have, the better off you are.
Lucky Obsession said, if I had a house, I'd sell the damn house to play poker. Okay, Lucky.
Lucky, I know a lot of people that have lost their house trying to play poker. So yeah, don't do that. But people do that. People do that. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, there are too many people that I've seen that have done that kind of stuff that didn't plan. So yeah. But going back to your question, and you got to have at least like a year, in my opinion, minimum 6 months. A year is probably more optimal of all your bills covered, just in case you're to lose your bankroll. Because you know what? Every gambler goes broke at some point. Whether it's a temporary thing or if it's a permanent thing, it happens. I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, I shouldn't say everybody does, but it's highly likely that most do. I mean, it just happens. And I don't mean completely broke, or you're going to be living on the street or anything like that. But I think you know what I mean. When I say broke, lose their bankroll.
As Kenny Rogers says, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and definitely know when to run.
Right, exactly. So then I would say the next most important thing is bankroll. Well, the most important thing, period, of anybody trying to gamble for a living, whether it's playing poker, doing anything, the number one thing is, actually, let me ask you, RhinoMan, do you think you could guess what the number one most important thing is for anybody trying to gamble for a living?
Make sure they have a bankroll.
Bankroll management. That's it. Bankroll management. It's not even making sure you have a bankroll. It's managing the bankroll. So you gotta, I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of the term life
Well,
roll
you can't
and
manage
bankroll.
nothing. You can't, as my mom used to say, you can't take blood from a turnip. So if you don't have a bankroll to begin with, you can't even manage it. So
If I could grow, if I could grow a tree that'll grow $100 bills on it, man, I'd be planting those all throughout the yard. No question on that. But yeah, no, that's true. So yeah, you got to manage. You got to learn how to manage your bankroll, and so you got to learn that there's going to be ups and downs in your bankroll. You're not going to win every day. You're gonna lose, and but you just got to be able to weather the losses. You know, to weather the storm, so to speak. So if so, for me, example, to dive in a little bit more micro level into like what I do is, let's say I go to the casino tonight, I win $1,000. Out of that $1,000, what I'll do is I'll take 500 out of that win, and I will put 500 towards the bankroll. No matter what
okay,
my bankroll is, you got to separate bankroll and life roll. You got to have two different bank accounts. You got to have two different
okay,
everything. And so I'll take. It's like I'm paying myself 500.
exactly.
You know, so well, actually, I take that back. It's not I'm paying myself. I'm paying the business $500, or I'm reinvesting 500 into the business. So you take 500 off of that $1,000 profit. Obviously, what the initial stake was is going back in the bankroll, but the profit 500 is going to go be reinvested back in the business, and then the remaining 500 or 50% then is going to be my pay.
Yeah,
That 50% is what's going to pay my Verizon bill, or it's going to pay to put gas in my car, which basically is almost the whole 50% at this point. But
without a doubt.
yeah, but yeah, so it's like running a business, managing a business. You know, you still
Okay.
have to pay. You know, say you run a business, you still want to pay yourself a salary, but you still also got to reinvest back into the business. So as long as you can learn how to do that, and that is the hardest thing, then you can do well. You know, the hardest thing for a gambler is not being able to gamble. And if you can't manage your
Exactly.
bankroll, you're out of action, baby. You're out of action.
Exactly.
So,
So let's move on. Let's move on real quick from, because we're over an hour. Let's move on real quick from the poker to your channel. How'd your channel start?
so my channel started. My whole journey into YouTube started originally in 2016. I posted a video at Planet Hollywood. I was originally going to start vlogging, like what it's like. That's right when I basically started just playing poker for a living. I was going to start vlogging what it's like just gambling for a living and what the lifestyle was like. And I started out with the first video I made was a room review when I just got to Las Vegas for a poker tournament at Planet Hollywood. And then the whole thing kind of went out the window, and I never wind up doing any of the vlogging that I was going to do. I don't know why. I don't know if I was because I was camera shy or lazy or whatever the case may be. And so I would just occasionally post hotel room reviews that I was doing, and they were getting good traction. I mean, I've got 17,000 plus views on the Planet Hollywood, 10,000 on another one, and but I still had in my mind I was going to do like a vlogging style channel, and I just never did it. Never did it. Years went by. You know, a couple of years went by. COVID hits. Now I'm in Vegas right after the casinos opened up after COVID, and there was nothing to do in Las Vegas but to gamble.
Exactly.
I mean, 90% of the restaurants were closed or you couldn't get into them. There were no bars open, no clubs, no this, that, no pools. You couldn't do anything but gamble. And here I'm in Las Vegas for 2.5 months, and all I could do was gamble. So I hit $1,200 on a line hit on Wild Wild Nugget. And that's not the first video I put up, but that's the first one that I recorded something on.
Okay.
And I just happened to pull the phone out because I hit a jackpot. So I was like, heck, let's pull the phone out. And I'm like, you know what? This would be fun. I'll throw this up on my channel. And so I threw it, and I started filming a couple of different slots after that. And the first one I actually put up was chili, more chili, but then I put the Wild Wild Nugget up right after it. And then that just opened up the door to the whole slot community. And I'm like, I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know exactly, like, I didn't know that there was even a Brian Christopher or this or that before I even posted that video. I posted the video, and next thing I know, my YouTube feed is giving me all these dang slot channels. I'm like, what the heck is all this? So
Yeah.
that's where it was born basically. So that was August of like 2020. So the first slot video was like August, beginning or middle of August of 2020. And then at that point, I just started posting videos of gameplay, you know, different slot games. And at first I had.
So with your channel, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I have do not disturb on my phone, and for some reason a phone call still came through. A spam call on top of it.
With your channel, I noticed that you have a lot of hotel reviews and you have a lot of slot videos. For you, which one gets more views?
Well, the hotel room reviews get a lot of views, and part of it is I think because my reviews, although they're not very flashy by any means, like I'm not showing you the bright lights of all the signs and all the fancy spas and all that stuff in the hotel. I'm just showing you like the meat and potatoes of the hotel. I'm showing you the room, like the real room. I'm not cutting away on stuff and spicing up the video. I'm just walking through the room and showing the review, and I would say that those videos have gotten the most views by far. I mean, I have some slot videos that have gotten good views too. I mean, I got one that's got 63,000 views. I got a couple that have a couple thousand views. So those have gotten some views, but overall the room reviews have gotten more views. And I think it's because, you know, like let's say you're going to Las Vegas and let's say a new person's going to Las Vegas. They don't know what the heck Wild Chuco Lightning Link is. You know, they have no idea. They don't know what they might know Huff and Puff because it's so popular and seeing the videos. You know, you can't not see a Huff and Puff video somewhere. But, you know, they don't know all these different slot machines. But what they're searching for is like, you know what? Because most of the people going there are paying for the room. So they're looking at rooms like Planet Hollywood and Harrah's and Flamingo and rooms like that they can afford. They want to know, are they staying at the Super 8 or are they staying at a decent hotel? So that's what's gotten good views on my channel, is people just want to really see what a real room looks like. And I don't post videos of suites or anything like that. And the funny thing is like, I've never paid for a hotel room in Las Vegas. I got very high level, you know, casino cards at every casino. I could stay in a suite. I don't want to stay in a suite. Number one, I don't want to stay in a suite because then I feel I owe something back to the casino and I might not want to play at that casino. Yeah. But number two, I never wanted to stay in a suite either because at the time I wanted to post a video of the room, and most people can't afford a suite or can't get a suite. They want to see a double queen or they want to see a single king, you know, or something like that. So yeah, so that's to answer your question. Yeah, the hotel room reviews get a lot of views, and like, I mean, I recommend to any slot channel when they're in Las Vegas or they're even at their local casino, you know, throw a hotel room review in there. It could even be a separate video, you know, like I notice a lot of people lately have been incorporating it into some of their slot video, and that's a good break, I guess, from some of the slots, you know, to break away and then go back into the slots, and that's probably good. But if some people are struggling for content, film that hotel room review. It takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes to film a hotel room, throw it up, and you're going to get some views on your channel, you know, and hopefully get you some subscribers, you know.
Definitely. So what's next for your channel?
Well, what I think I'm going to start doing, to be honest with you, is I'm going to start doing a little bit more vlog style on my channel. I've been talking about doing it since 2016. I went out to Vegas this past winter with the plan of vlogging my entire trip. I actually even created a thumbnail template for vlogging. You know, I was calling it the Rip in Las Vegas, you know, was the theme. And I just never did it. It was a combination of laziness and a couple other things, you know, hitting that jackpot and all that when I first got to Vegas, that I just wind up not doing it. But so I think going forward, I'm going to start doing some vlogging style, like where you're going to see my everyday experiences of, you know, going to the casino, playing poker, playing slots, doing whatever I'm doing in the casino. I'm going to try to, I mean, I can't really film hardcore in the casino that I'm at because the filming rules in the casinos, my local casinos, are extremely strict. But I could put little snips in there And so I think that's what it's going to be. It's just talking about like what my life is like. Maybe I'll become the Kardashian of the slot community.
Hey,
You know,
you never know.
I hope
You
not.
never know. You never know. Hey, bro, we're at an hour and 15. I appreciate you taking this time. Fascinating. I never knew that you were a professional poker player. We could put professional in there because you do it for a living, and anybody that does something for a living is a professional. So
Fair enough.
I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you telling your story, and I look forward to having you back in a couple of months. So I'd like to see what you do. What's coming up? What's coming up for you in May, June?
Yeah, we got the World Series of Poker coming up in May, June, and July, and so I'm planning on. Usually, I go out there for pretty much the entire event. This year, because it's changed over, it went from the Rio. It's moving from the Rio to Bally's Paris Convention Center. So it's going to be a
Okay.
little bit of a mess at the beginning, I think. So I probably won't be going there till June. I won't be there at the beginning like I usually am. But I'm going to. I'm planning on vlogging while I'm out there, man. So you guys can see my progress when I'm there. I'm going to play
But
some events that I normally don't play.
but you are going to be in the World Series of Poker.
I am. I am.
Fantastic. I'll be rooting for you for sure.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Like I said, the plan is to capture a lot of it on the camera. So let's keep our fingers crossed that I fall through with it. First of all, I better, because
Okay.
that honestly was the primary objective of my channel from the get-go when I started my channel. And so I'm definitely going to do it. So yeah,
Hey,
so you guys can watch along.
I would love to just have quick lives with you during the event or during the days leading up to the event and going forward. I would definitely like to do that and cheer you on for sure.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I definitely would be interested in doing that. And one other thing I was thinking about doing too is kind of like a challenge, maybe doing like a challenge to myself of taking like a couple $1,000s or something like that, and seeing if I could run that 20,000 or like $20 or $2,000 up to like 20, 30, 40, $50,000 right before the World Series of Poker, and then use that for bankroll during the World Series of Poker. So that's kind of like a kick in the butt to me to do the vlogging, as well as a challenge to play well for the next couple of months and get ready for the World Series. So yeah, hopefully you guys will see some of those videos.
That's definitely a good plan. I would like to see some of those, and I would like for you to let me know when you're going to be out there because maybe I could take a trip out. It's only a couple hours away from me, 2.5. Get
Yeah.
out there and meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I'll definitely announce it on my channel like when I'll be out there. So
Okay.
right now I was hoping to go out there before the World Series, but to be honest, I'm not going to, because it's just too much going on. I have too much going on that it's probably better off, and it's coming up so quickly. It's only 2 months away now, basically.
Yeah.
That I'm better off just staying back here in Chicago and doing what I need to do here prior to the event, because that event is very time consuming and very draining. So yeah. So June, yeah,
Obviously.
plan on sometime in June, man.
Will do. Hey guys, until next time, thank you guys for spending the time with us tonight. Until next time, let the good times roll. I will see you then.
Hey guys, thanks for being our Rhino Man. Thank you very much. I appreciate all your support.
Hey, not a problem.
All right, guys, have a good night, man. Good luck, everybody. This